Hey guys, welcome to the 716 Sports Entertainment Podcast Royal Rumble post-show edition of Monday Night Raw. It was a doozy. It's a hell of a show we got there after the post-show for the Royal Rumble and the ultimate start of the road to WrestleMania. So we here at 716 Sports Entertainment are going to break it all down. As always, I am Mike, joined by Mr. Sean O'Neill. And Sean, how did we like the official beginning of the road to WrestleMania?
So I think the road to WrestleMania is relatively predictable for what you and I have talked about, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that the matches that we're going to get, especially the one that was 100% confirmed already, and the other one that we're expecting are going to be fantastic. And I think that for this being the first Raw of the road to WrestleMania, they did a decent job of getting it started.
Yeah. So we right now, as far as WrestleMania is concerned, we pretty much have one match that is officially set, which is likely to be the night two main event of the show, which will be, of course, between Roman Reigns and CM Punk. It seems very obvious that it's going to be Liv and Stephanie for the other one, but that is not yet officially confirmed. It was teased, but not yet officially confirmed. But it seems very likely that that will be the other one. And that was
Yes.
kind of the highlight of the show. So as we break down the good and the bad from this show, this obviously is aces all across the board. And that was the segment where Roman Reigns hit the ring after his Royal Rumble win to address the crowd. And he talked about how he won his first WWE Championship in Philly, where the show was taking place. He won his first Rumble there, and obviously he also had lost his title to Cody there as well a couple of years ago at WrestleMania.
I forgot that.
So it was a great start to the promo. Obviously, he called out CM Punk, who interestingly immediately addressed Finn Balor, like
Yeah.
when he was cutting a promo like right into the camera, to which Reigns took exception. And it immediately kind of led into just, a bloodbath between these two guys where they just continued to take shots at one another. Punk reminded Roman that he once ruled over WWE for 434 days with Paul Heyman by his side, just like Roman did. And he made a really good one-liner where he said, just because you did it longer doesn't mean you did it better. And I actually went and
Oh
looked
yeah.
this up. Roman had something like 76 or 77 title defenses during his 1,300 some odd day run. Punk, during his 434-day run, had over 100. So
Oh
Punk
yeah. Punk
actually
was a
had
fighting champ.
more more title defenses in his year and a half run, which was interesting. Reigns obviously, fired back and claimed that Punk, after Punk had left the WWE, Triple H came to him specifically, and he allowed it for Punk to come back, which was also interesting. And ultimately, it completely boiled down, and he said, I. You're going to be my opponent at WrestleMania, not because of, what you did to my family, not because of, anything else, but because of the fact that I hate you. And he stomped off, and this just closed out the show. And if you watch anything from this show, this is the thing to watch. It was awesome. It's a great build to WrestleMania's main, obviously, what is going to be WrestleMania's main event. And I think, given Roman's part-time schedule, I think that is going to help this program a little bit. And the reason I say that is because we saw what happened with Jey Uso and Gunther, who are full-timers last year. That just fell apart. And granted, Jey does not have the charisma that either one of these guys has, um, and kind of relied on Gunther to carry the storytelling for that a little bit. Because Jey kind of has, four lines that he delivers every single time he speaks. But this is, two guys that are absolutely at the top and, can absolutely cut just a monster promo.
So I don't know that I like the fact that Drew, or not Drew, that he came out, that Punk came out and addressed Balor first before even saying a single thing to Reigns. I feel like it made it a little bit awkward there, but then they very quickly got into the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the promo. And I really was surprised at some of the stuff that was brought up. like the Punk going on and the podcast and trashing WWE and the fact that Roman kept calling him Phil. I think my favorite line was when Punk was acting tough and Roman was like, "You do realize that Drew is like 4 feet taller than you, right?" I think that was probably my favorite of his insults at him. But
Yeah.
it makes me curious when they were predicting us to be getting Roman and Cody. This promo feels like it could have been directed at either of those guys. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the I hate you, the fact that they're going off the I hate you aspect of it. It makes
Hmm.
it's I find
Hmm.
it very interesting that feud could have had either of them inserted as the champ in question.
Hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. I loved everything about this. I do love that like he continued to take shots at Drew McIntyre. And we know that we've said this a while, right? Obviously, Drew's title is still more or less the main title, but man, this makes this title feel like a much bigger deal now, right? And frankly,
Yes.
I think that this feels like the real title now, right? Because you have real stars competing for this title, you know? And it's not like you always didn't have that in the past, but you always kind of had guys who felt like mid-carders competing for this title a lot. Seth did a lot to carry this title because Seth is a main eventer, but a lot of the guys Seth was going up against were not. You know, this is two bona fide main eventers going for this title. And I'm hoping they can do well with the other one as well. I mean, Cody, Jacob, and Drew are big time stars, but they are, I mean, Cody aside, I would say Cody, Roman, and Punk are the biggest stars in the company.
Oh,
And, you know,
100%.
with that being said, you know, this is the one of the best money matches WWE can do to be the main event of WrestleMania.
This is really going to bring up the prestige of that title.
Hmm.
Even if Roman doesn't end up winning it at Mania, the fact that this is the title that Roman chose to go after, that alone, I think, increases the prestige of this belt, which is something that, as you mentioned, is definitely needed because this belt has always felt like a secondary title since they've debuted it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to see where this goes. Like, truthfully,
Yeah.
like I know we're not going to get this every week, but I could just take 30 minutes of these guys ripping each other apart every single week. My only gripe with this whole thing is not even with these two guys in particular. It's just something that people are being really loud about on the internet. And that really is more or less them not taking the opportunity to make another star here. And what I mean by that is, you know, and we'll get into this when we talk about the bad, because there was some bad on this show, but you know, Braun Breaker and Oba Femi in particular, these two guys are the future of your company. And yeah, Oba just got called up to the main roster, but it just seems like again, you had an opportunity with this Rumble to have potentially a new star, make a new star in this spot. And you just instead decided to go the safe route. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's going to be great storytelling. It's going to be an awesome match. It's going to feel worthy of being a WrestleMania main event. But I am just concerned about the fact that what Roman is 44 and Punk is 47, right? Like, I mean, how much longer can we just keep going to the well with guys over 40? And it really should
I
be guys under 30 starting to take this spot a little bit because eventually these guys are not going to be here. You know, Roman's contract is up this year. I mean, he'll probably sign an extension. Punk is going to go he's got another couple of years left on his deal. Cody's got another couple of years left on his deal. But I mean, eventually all these guys won't be here anymore, you know, and you need to start thinking about the future sooner rather than later.
So that's actually going to be my counterpoint to what you said is you don't have a ton of time left with these guys. So if you're going to do these matches, you need to do them now. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have a lot of years left with Braun and Oba. And I mean, it's sounding more and more like Seth is going to Superman his way to potentially being at Mania. And I mean, a really big match for Braun to have at WrestleMania as well. It
Let's
may
save
not.
that for a little bit because
My
I do
point
want to talk
though,
about that at length. But yeah,
my point though is that you may not have them in the title picture, but you have. I think you need to get the matches out while you can before you lose the opportunity for them. As just a counterpoint to what you were saying.
and that's fair. Like I completely think that that's fair. I just don't think you have a ton of opportunities throughout the year to make people feel like a big deal. And I think Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and WrestleMania are your opportunities to make somebody a big deal. I think every other show feels secondary, right? Like the money in the even Money in the Bank. Like the briefcase is kind of nonsense now. Like the briefcase has really become a joke lately. So I just I don't know. We'll
You're
see.
not
I
wrong.
guess we'll see where they go with it.
The the fact that you're right. The big four paper PLEs nowadays are probably your best opportunity to jumpstart somebody into a superstar, like as far as that ability goes. But I think there's a happy medium there of getting what you can out of both sides. You know what I mean?
Let's agree to call it though here. Let's say the
No,
big
I'm fine
three.
with that.
No. The big three and a half PLEs because Survivor Series has been pretty bad lately.
Yeah,
I don't think I consider Survivor Series a big four show anymore. I think Survivor Series has been pretty bad for the last few years. It had some cool moments, but it has not been a good show for a while. It just seems
yeah.
like we need to just have this show as an excuse to have this show because we've always had this show since 1997 or something like that, you know.
I
But
think that
that's neither here nor there.
yeah.
Um, so let's move on to some more good that was on the show, and we did have a couple of things that I liked on this show in particular. I really enjoyed everything that happened with Liv Morgan, Stephanie Vaquer, and Raquel Rodriguez in the Judgment Day. So we had Dom come out to the ring, looking as grungy as he usually does. Cut a
Yep.
Oh, you got an animal walking in
Yeah.
front of your camera here.
Yep.
Um, we had Dom coming out to the ring to cut a promo introducing Liv. Liv came out and talked about how she's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania and all this stuff, and who she initially was going to go on about who she was going to challenge. To which Raquel came out, and she basically was like, "Well, it might be me because I'm going to be the one to beat Stephanie and take the title." To which obviously led to her match with Stephanie, which was more or less a no DQ match between the two of them, which allowed for tables and weapons and different things like that to occur. And this was a good match. One thing that kind of annoyed me, and I didn't even notice it at first, I noticed it on my like fast forward watch through again this morning, was that they changed Stephanie's music. And I don't know if I love that. It's very not it's I mean I didn't really like her music to begin with, but I think I like it even less now. But the match itself was good. Was very hard hitting. And towards the end of the match, there was a little bit of a botch where Raquel was supposed to go through a table, but she kind of like clipped the end of the table, and the table just like half-assedly broke. But then Stephanie hit her really awesome sort of dragon corkscrew finisher off the top rope to, get a clean win over Raquel to hopefully end this feud. And Liv obviously came in and beat her down, hit her with the Oblivion to ultimately stand tall. So it very likely seems that it's going to be Liv and Stephanie at Mania. But what did you think of the segment, the match, and where we're gonna go with this women's title?
So obviously the fact that the Dirty One is back is huge news after him being gone for what, almost 2 months now. And maybe we'll finally get to see the IC title being defended again. And we can continue along and maybe get the Judgment Day storyline to finish. I think my only complaint, like I really like that Liv addressed the fact that she can pick whoever she wants and that she's going to over to SmackDown and see what's going on there. But we know she's not going to pick Jade Berg. Like that just doesn't make sense. I think my only complaint though about this segment was how fast Raquel dropped the point that Liv was the one that eliminated her. Like I get it that you're gonna say, oh well, you had the title shot tonight, but who doesn't want a title shot at WrestleMania? You know what I mean? I think that that was a missed opportunity. So I'm really hoping that that and the fact that Liv came out when Raquel specifically told her not to is brought up in the next couple weeks. Um, and then obviously the match, I didn't even realize, like you said, that her music had changed, but I something felt weird about it. Like
Mm.
I couldn't place what was off. And then when you said that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's what it was. But the match itself was about what we expected. Roxanne going through a table. I mean, you can't always control the way that like tables are going to break. So yeah, it kind of sucked that the table only broke a little bit when Raquel was supposed to go through it. But dock that paycheck for that table. I don't think you can do a whole lot else for that. And then the ending was great. That Phoenix splash that she does is right up there with when Rollins does it. It's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And obviously with the way that it ended with Liv hitting the Oblivion, if there was any question that it was going to be Stephanie, that pretty much answered it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think the audience is going to be mad with me, but I only have one other thing for this show that I want to put into the good, and then I think the rest of it is probably going to go into the bad, and I will explain my reasoning behind this. But the other thing that was incredible on this show was Gunther. And Gunther came out to AJ Styles music, and I popped like crazy. I was like, "Oh my God, Styles is back!" Oh my! And then Gunther came out and did Styles' little, head dropping, throw his hands up entrance. I was peeing my pants laughing at this. This was incredible. The heat for this dude was off the charts. And he didn't
Yeah.
really get a chance to cut much of a promo, like at all, because he was immediately interrupted by Dragon Lee. And I initially felt like, oh, this is cool. You're going to give Dragon, like, you're remembering that these two guys were a tag team, and you're giving Dragon Lee an opportunity to, like, do something here. And then Dragon Lee just kind of got his ass kicked, which was fine. And they will probably do a match between these two guys, to which Gunther will probably win. Because you can't just have Gunther just constantly being in things where he's going to just continually retire people. Like Dragon Lee's going
Yeah.
to be around for a while. So, these guys can do a match for a couple of months, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But this was great, and Gunther is just such an a-hole, and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm completely here for it.
So keep in mind to what you were saying about other things being in the bad. It doesn't necessarily mean they're actually bad. It's more or less the fact that we don't have a meh category that so things can also fall into that category. But I just thought of something that would be really fun as far as what Dragon Lee coming out and in addition to the fact that he was avenging AJ Styles, but because of Dragon Lee, I can think of the next name that Gunther can retire. Rey Mysterio. Have Gunther take out Dragon Lee, who is basically Rey's protege, and Rey come out and try to take on Gunther and be the next one to be retired.
I wonder, though, if they're going to save Ray and Dot for Dominic.
You could, but I think that would be a fun way to do it. Is you have
Yeah, no,
Rey
you
be
you could
if
certainly do that. I just think of all of the people who are going to be gone soon, I think Ray is the one person I would not feed to Gunther. I would feed him to Dominic.
if it comes down to it, yeah. And I think it probably depends on how much longer Rey can physically go. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
Like he's had a bunch of injuries, so if he can't go much longer, that's when I might do it. But I think that would be fun. But overall, you're right. Gunther is a humongous asshole, and the way he's just leaning into the fact that he's an asshole is
This is
great.
so great. He's
Um,
just like he's like the trolling is like up to 11, and I love it. I'm here for it.
I did think of one other thing that they could do to get him versus AJ Styles one more time. So Styles goes and competes in TNA now since he's done with WWE, right? Have Gunther be like, no, I said you need to retire. And we get one more match because of it, because he's technically still competing in another promotion. And we get one final actual true match between the two of them.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what Styles is actually going to do, where, when, and if he's going to show up anywhere. I just, and I don't want to be that guy, but I really don't want him to go to AEW. And I've been hearing a lot of rumors
I
that
don't think he does.
he might, and I feel like I would hate that if he went to AEW for like a year, and like I don't want that. I mean, he wouldn't. AJ Styles would not be the kind of guy who would crap all over WWE upon going there. Um, but I just don't think I would like that. I don't want that to happen. But we'll see, I guess.
I'm right there with you, but I don't think he goes to AEW. I think if anything, it's TNA, and he closes out his career where he started.
Yeah. So moving to the bad, we had the night-long sort of narrative of what was going on with the Vision, and obviously we talked about this on the Royal Rumble show, where um uh Braun Breaker was eliminated due to the Masked Man, and we obviously never did find out who the Masked Man was. And yeah, they made mention of it, but it kind of really didn't go anywhere. And the way this whole thing looks right now is, and you mentioned this earlier that maybe it's going to lead to something else. Oh, your camera cut out.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I cut it out because I was letting the cat out.
oh, um, the way this looks right now is we are having a feud between Braun Breaker and Adam Pearce, and that is dumb. And like Adam Pearce did have a great line where he kind of sowed some seeds to make Braun Breaker think that it might have been Austin Theory who was the one behind the mask who initially attacked him, and Theory looked like, dumbfounded. I'm also starting to hear rumors that it might be Logan Paul who did it, but
Yep.
this was just a mess, and I am not interested in this at all. And obviously, the Vision had a match too with Penta and Bronson Reed. We'll talk about that in a second. But it was just the whole thing was just kind of sloppy, and I just don't like what they're doing with Braun Breaker. If the plan is to do the Seth match, that's awesome. But if Seth isn't going to be around and we're just going to kind of do this sort of who done it nonsense again, who's the masked man again, like I'm going to get pretty tired of that real quick. And I have a feeling if Seth isn't ready, we're going to do Braun Breaker versus like Logan Paul at WrestleMania. And I think I'm going to hate that.
Really? I mean, Logan Paul is
No, I'm not
consistently
going to hate
put
the
on
match. I'm not going to hate
fantastic.
the match. I'm just going to hate the fact that that's what we're doing at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, see, I didn't put this in the bad for myself. I actually enjoyed a lot of this. I enjoyed the match that they ended up having. I enjoy how unhinged Breaker is starting to get, and the fact that Adam Pearce is basically starting to troll him, even though Heyman keeps trying to be like, "Oh, well, you're doing this," and Pearce is like, "No, I'm not." Like, how did I set you up to be number two when you literally pulled your own ball? Like, I think
Right.
that it's I don't know if it'll lead to anything between Braun and Pierce, as entertaining and as funny as I think that would be. And I think the fact that it would allow Pierce to actually get his shot in WWE after he had to retire from injury before he even got there would be cool for him. But I'm still of the opinion that this is leading to Seth.
Hope so. I hope that you're right, and I hope that Seth can come back and like we can make this a thing, but I don't know, I'm very worried that we're just gonna kind of go in just a bad route, and I just feel like we're spinning our wheels here, and I don't love that. Seth's
I mean,
injury
how do you
sucks, and it's
tell?
super unfortunate, and the title picture would probably be very different right now if Seth never got hurt, you know, but I don't know. I don't love any of this.
So if you're booking this and it's going to be Seth, do you just hit? The problem is if Seth isn't completely ready yet, he can't be the one who's technically attacking him yet. You know what I mean? So they probably have a proxy filling in for Seth until he's actually fully cleared. So how would you tell this story then?
Yeah, I mean
You know what I mean?
it's a good point. I mean, one of these guys in the Vision is very likely going to be Seth's inside guy. and if you keep having Braun Breaker just get more and more unhinged trying to figure out who this is, I think that's okay. I really don't love the superstar feuding with the general manager thing. Like, I just think that that's so overdone.
I think the one good thing that could come out of this is who the authority figure over Pierce is. I have a feeling he might be done as a GM on the sooner rather than later side.
Maybe.
And we might be getting a new authority figure at some point here. That's some of the talk that I've heard just from the online things that I've followed.
Yeah. But then the Vision storyline obviously wasn't done as well. We did have a match between Penta and Bronson Reed, which was fine. This wasn't neither bad nor good. I was just kind of indifferent to this. This obviously ended in a DQ when LA Knight appeared and delivered the BFT to Big Bronson Reed and then kind of made his way through, escaped the crowd. Penta obviously won the match by a count out. This match, I mean, was fine. Again, it's just the same. It seems like the same formula over and over and over again. Like nobody can beat up the Vision at all, except if there is some kind of interference, right? So like, what are we gonna do when we eventually get the match between LA Knight and Braun Breaker? LA Knight's just gonna lose, right?
Maybe
And
not.
I don't like that. I mean, or if we get the match between LA Knight and Big Bronson Reed with no nonsense. Like I just think I should let me scratch that. There's always going to be nonsense. I don't feel like we're ever going to get just a clean
No,
match between any of these guys. And I get it, but I also don't like it. I reserve the right to not like it because there needs to be more just wins and losses. And I hate to see superstars I like Penta take L's, but there are plenty of other superstars on the roster, especially guys that they don't even give a crap about, like Rusev. Have Rusev come out and just get his face kicked in by Big Bronson Reed.
the the problem though is that they're trying to continue telling a story of the multiple people who are involved because at some point WWE has basically written themselves into a similar corner as they did with the bloodline where because there's so many people and so many constant shenanigans and everything that the faces can't do anything if they're always by themselves. So that's the problem that WWE has is the Vision is always running roughshod over people because there's four of them. And your faces, unless you start to put together an actual group of them, are never going to be able to overcome the numbers game. You know what I mean?
I think the
So
problem though is that your faces are all mid-carders and your Vision guys all seem like top guys. And I think that's part of the problem too. You don't have real, I mean, LA Knight, I guess, because Punk is doing his own thing now, right? Because Punk was feuding with them, but he's not anymore, right? So your faces don't really have a leader. They don't really have a main eventer per se. LA Knight is the closest thing to that, and I don't really consider him a main eventer anymore.
the problem though with the Vision is that they're no longer right at the main title. You know what I mean? So more or less the Vision is kind of mid card guys themselves now, at
Mm.
least for the moment. Just
I
at
don't
least
know.
until they
I
get
mean,
moved back
they
into.
present them like they're big time though, because they beat everybody.
So you put them up against LA Knight, you put them up against Penta, you put them up against who else could? I mean, who else is top tier enough for them to go up against?
Ray has been involved in that quite a bit.
And
I
I
mean,
mean, Dragon Lee is going to be elsewhere now.
you desperately need to bring Ray Phoenix over here and just pair him with his brother at this point because that dude is just getting crapped all over on SmackDown.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
like a move to Raw would really help him.
yeah, he needs to get paired with his brother. He really do. He does because they are just horribly misusing that guy.
Yeah, they're using him as a jobber when he is not somebody who should be being used as a jobber. It's like I
Hmm.
was saying about Dragon Lee for a while. Who did he piss off?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So that was the stuff with the Vision, and I mean, again, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. It'll probably lead to a bunch of a bunch of matches between all of these guys just to kind of fill time until we get to, some kind of story conclusion with this. And then we had two other, three other segments that I kind of want to break down a little bit here. The first being the stuff going on with Javon Evans and the El Grande Americanos. Now, I want to stress I had no problem with the match. The bigger problem I have is that I feel like we are doing the same thing with Javon Evans that I have been just complaining about forever, and that is you're not, again, taking an opportunity to make a big star. Javon Evans was basically the Iron Man during the Royal Rumble, and he was one of the brightest spots in the Royal Rumble, and he immediately goes back to a comedy feud, and like nobody cared about this match at all. And it was just like waiting until Chad Gable's original El Grande Americano kind of came out, and that completely overshadowed anything that was going on with this match. And I know that these guys were in a feud before, but I just don't care. And these guys just didn't seem like they had any in-ring chemistry at all. There was a commercial in the middle of the match that just went on way too long. And this whole thing was just really half-assedly done. And I don't care for any of it. And I know I've said this on this channel numerous times. I get comedy characters, but I also I'm not Mr. Cartoon character guy. And these El Grande Americano things, like we need to end this like sooner rather than later because it's starting to get on my every last nerve.
So I think this match was just since they weren't able to actually have their final match last week with the Javon Evans injury at the time. So I think this was just a blow off to that, especially with the returning original Grande. So we're no doubt going to get some sort of payoff to that. I think the other thing that hurts, at least for the last 2 months, is the fact that you haven't had another title for a lot of these guys to be potentially competing over, with the fact that
Mhm.
Dom was out for 2 months. So the fact that they didn't strip Dom of the title leaves you with no secondary prize to be going for, because we would have been having matches to figure out who a number one contender would be,
We should.
multi-man matches like a tournament. And hopefully now that Dom is back, we can get back into that. And we see people like Javon Evans, a debuting Obafemi, that kind of stuff. And people like that all get moved into, I mean, we'll probably see Rusev and they'll probably lose right away. But it'll give us something that these guys can actually do and something actually important for them to do. Because, like, if Obafemi or Javon Evans wins the Intercontinental title, that's awesome for either of them. You know what
Oh,
I
no
mean?
doubt. No doubt.
And honestly, I'd out of the two of them, I'd probably give it to Javon Evans first because he didn't have a chance to get a title in NXT. I would probably see how he handled getting a title and running with it.
And speaking of Obafemi, it certainly seems like they have bigger plans for him. Now, WWE kind of does this a lot, and then they kind of like sort of fall off a cliff with some of these guys. And I really do not want them to ruin Obafemi because Obafemi probably got the third biggest pop of the night. Like the crowd loved him. They were singing his song, they were chanting his Oba's gonna kill you during, the segment. It was awesome. Like it was absolutely awesome. Problem was standard WWE booking of a big new guy coming out and killing an established tag team in the War Raiders. And this made the War Raiders look like absolute chumps. Both of them. They just
So
got wrecked in like 30 seconds by Obafemi. And it makes Obafemi look awesome, but it makes another one of your tag teams which is such a light division, especially on Raw, look like complete chumps. And if these guys ever win the titles again, which maybe they will, maybe they won't, it's going to make your titles look like chump titles. And anybody who challenges the Usos for those titles, just chump titles. Like I don't care. Like right now we've got Tozawa and Otis challenging for those titles. They're not going to win. And like
that's the problem.
what am I supposed to think here about the Raw tag team division? That is just a joke division in its entirety, right? Because even your champions, the Usos, Jey Uso is starting to become a meme. And it's
He
like
is.
I'm really we've complained ad nauseum on this channel about the tag team division, and WWE just cannot help itself. Triple H just does not know how to book tag teams. He just doesn't. And it's just let's just bury our tag teams over and over and over and over again. Like I said, this makes Oba Femi look fine, but it just makes your tag team division look stupid.
So if this had been like local jobbers, like local talent, that would have been one thing. But this also partially stems back to the fact that you have Tozawa and Otis as your number one contenders because your comedy team is the team that Oba should have come out and done this to, not
Hmm.
somebody who you consistently put in number one contender matches or put in like major type matches for the tag team titles because you're right, it makes them look like chumps. And like I said, I'm fine with Oba coming out and destroying people. Like they never really specified why like the other tag team that the Raiders were supposed to face never came out, and it was just Oba that came out. But I think that there's a way to do this, and WWE did not do it right. If I'm Eric and Ivar, I'd almost rather just sit back and catering at that point.
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you there. It's just obnoxious. The whole thing is just so obnoxious. But I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know where we I don't know. I don't really know where we go from here with it. I mean, hopefully like they find something that they can do with Oba, but guess we'll see. I mean, he just started, so like I imagine, maybe they'll kind of try and ease him into a program, but I'd like to see him
Well,
just, you know, start killing people every single week, have awesome matches and really get him going with the crowd because he's great and you've got a big time star there. And I think you are missing a huge opportunity if you don't take the chance to do a match. You know what? I just thought of this. You could do you could do the match because if Brock is going to be gone at SummerSlam, you need to do a match between Oba and Brock at some point,
yeah,
right? And if we know that Gunther's going to be the one to do it at SummerSlam, I almost want the Brock Oba match to be at WrestleMania. And then from there, he can go and do his thing with Gunther. And then next year, you do the Gunther Oba match and make
yeah.
that a big deal. Make that a really, really big deal.
So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen Friday with Oba because they made a point to mention that Oba isn't signed to either show yet, and both guys are, or both Aldis and Pierce are racing to sign him. So I'm very curious to see if they do the same thing on Friday and have him come out and destroy a tag team, which on SmackDown wouldn't be cool because they actually have the better tag team division. Or honestly, if I'm booking it, I have Obafemi be the one to answer Carmelo Hayes' U.S. Open challenge
And have him win.
and beat him. Yep, and have him beat Carmelo. And then you have Aldis sign him over on SmackDown because he's got the belt.
Yep. I love it. That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
That's if I were fantasy booking it.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it a lot. I think that would be super. But another one here, just like Braun Breaker, right? Like you have an opportunity to make a major star here. Do the right thing. Do the right thing with this guy. And I know we criticize Brock's booking horribly, but I mean, you've got 4 or 5 matches left with Brock. One of them needs to be with Oba, if one of them's going to be with Gunther.
Nobody needs to win.
Oh yeah, 100%. So
That's my only concern is I don't know that WWE would do the smart thing and put Oba over Brock.
I hope so. I think it'd be a huge mistake if
Hopefully,
they had him lose.
hopefully Brock is smart enough to realize that he's getting to the point where he needs to start putting people over. But considering what they did to Ilya during the Rumble, the guy who you constantly say, "Oh, he's one of the hardest hitters in WWE," and then you have Brock no sell it.
Yeah, don't love that. So that takes us to the downright ugly, and that is the Bellas are back, both of them. And
Free
this
mode.
this was there were a lot of little kids, little girls that were in the audience that were like loving this. Even some older women who were like in tears. Like they showed some women, some like middle-aged women who were crying. And I was like, Really?
I was crying.
Okay.
I
But I
teared
mean,
up.
regardless, this was such a nothing. Like this was completely pointless. They got like 10 seconds to speak, and it was just, "We're here, we're back, and we want the tag team titles." And then the music hit, and that was it. And I guess they're gonna win the tag team titles. That's what's going to
Maybe
happen.
not.
No, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a multi-person match at WrestleMania, and they're going to win the titles. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Convince me I'm wrong. They're going
I
to win the
can't, but
titles.
I can't, but I'm gonna try and will it into existence because you mentioned people being in tears when the Bellas came out. I was in tears, but I was in tears for the women's division. The some you could tell that WWE was trying to cover up some of the chants and stuff too. And it's just you could tell Brie hasn't done a promo in forever. It was just it was this was definitely this wasn't just bad. This was beyond ugly. And uh, is they the only way that they can win the titles is if it's in a multi-person match. Because if you have them beat Rhea and Io, you're burying Rhea and Io at that point.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. They have to win in like some kind of ladder match or something. So, yeah, it's just
Or you know what I'd be fine with? Rhea hits a riptide on somebody, both Bellas hit the ring, throw her out of the ring, and steal the win.
yeah. Guess we'll
Just
see.
don't they can't beat any of these established women. Not even Nia and Lash. As much as I despise that tag group, it would bury the two of them as well. And
Yeah.
you're trying to present all of these women's tag groups as legitimate threats. You can't just squash that momentum because the Bellas wanted to come back, even
Yeah.
though Brie mode is the greatest mode of all time.
Anyway. So that was Monday Night Raw. What are your final thoughts and rating on the show?
They're lucky that they had a couple segments that were really good to make up for the dumpster fire of that Bellas segment. I give it the only reason why I give it a 4 is just because of that promo between Reigns and Punk. Probably one of the best promos in years, and that alone made this show must watch for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was great, and Gunther's segment was great, and I like everything they're doing with the Judgment Day. So I hope that they really continue those things. Some stuff that they definitely need to pick up, and I apologize if I came off as like way too negative on this show, but there's just some such inconsistent storytelling in a lot of places, and it really gets under my skin. So I think with that, my final rating for the show is a Philadelphia Street Fight out of 5. So
Not a Nikki Bella.
not a Brie mode out of 5. That'll be another for when they win the titles. So
Good.
that is our show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, I am Mike, joined by Mr. Sean O'Neill. Thank you so much for all of the support to our channel. We do appreciate it. Please leave your comments down below on what you think, what you thought of Monday Night Raw, and we will read and respond to all of those as we always do. And we appreciate any and all feedback you guys provide to us. So with that, have yourselves a fantastic evening and take care.